Hey guys, welcome back to Alleviated Soul. So today we will continue with part 2 of Descendants of the Daughters of Kardama and Swayambhuva Manu, the sacrifice performed by Daksha, Canto 4. Materially puffed up persons who are always disturbed in body and mind cannot tolerate the spiritual opulence of self-realized souls. Because I am always offering obeisances unto Lord Vasudeva in pure consciousness, I naturally respect all living entities in whose bodies he resides. My dear wife, because your father is envious of me, he will surely insult you if you go there. If you are still thinking to go, then I must warn you that for a respectable person like you, an insult from a relative is equal to death. As Lord Shiva became silent, Sati was seen moving this way and that on account of her indecision. She was very anxious to see her relatives, but at the same time she was afraid to do so because of her husband's warning. Feeling very aggrieved because Lord Shiva had forbidden her to go, Sati began to tremble as tears fell from her eyes. Indeed, due to becoming very agitated, she gave her husband such a hurt look that it appeared as if she would burn him to ashes. Finally, while breathing very heavily due to her anger and bereavement, Sati departed impetuously for her father's house, having lost all good intelligence because of womanly weakness. Seeing Sati leave, Lord Shiva's disciples, headed by Maniman, who were ready to sacrifice everything for their Lord, quickly followed her, along with thousands of yakshas. Knowing that Lord Shiva did not want his wife to go alone, they seated Sati upon Nandi, the bull, and gave her the bird that she kept as a pet. Indeed, they arranged a very pompous and royal procession by covering her with a nice canopy and providing musical accompaniment along with the sounding of conch shells and bugles. When Sati arrived at her father's sacrificial arena, which was filled with the sound of Vedic mantras, out of fear of Daksha, none of the assembled demigods or sages received her very well. Although her mother and sisters welcomed her in a very pleasing manner with gladdened faces and moistened eyes, Sati did not reply. Even though she was offered a nice seat and various gifts, Sati refused to accept anything because her father had neither welcomed her nor asked about her welfare. Then, when she saw that no arrangements had been made in the sacrificial arena for offerings to be made to her husband, Sati became so angry that she appeared ready to burn Daksha with her red-hot eyes. Upon seeing her mood, Lord Shiva's followers were prepared to kill Daksha, but Sati checked them. Then, within the hearing of all, Sati chastised her father saying, Lord Shiva is the foremost personality and he is beloved by all due to his being free from enmity. Thus, it is only you who could be envious of him. Your only business is to find faults in others, whereas Lord Shiva magnifies whatever good qualities he sees. Still, it is not astonishing that a person who has accepted the body as the self should always engage in deriding great souls. You consider my husband to be inauspicious, but do you think that Lord Brahma is a fool? He accepts the flowers offered at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva and places them upon his head with great respect. If one hears blasphemy of the Lord or his representative, he should block his ears and go away if he is unable to punish the offender. But if one is able to, then he should forcibly cut out the blasphemous tongue, and then, after killing him, he should give up his own life. Since you are my father, and because others might accuse my husband of having employed me to do what he could not, I will not kill you. Instead, I will give up this abominable body I have received from you. If someone has swallowed poisonous food, the best treatment is to vomit. My dear father, the opulence of Lord Shiva is impossible for you or your flatterers to imagine, because persons who perform great fruitive sacrifices for gratifying their bodies can hardly understand the position of self-realized souls. I am very ashamed of my bodily relationship with you, because you are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Indeed, whenever my husband addresses me as Dakshini, I become very morose. Now, I will give up the body that I had received from you. After saying this, Sati, who was dressed in saffron-colored cloth, sat on the ground facing north. After purifying herself by touching water, she closed her eyes and began to absorb her mind in meditation upon the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. Then, as Sati gradually raised her life air to between her eyebrows, she meditated upon the fiery air that is within the body. As a result, Sati became engulfed in a blazing fire, and in this way she gave up the body her father had given her. She did this so that she could have another birth that would allow her uncontaminated association with her Lord. A tumultuous uproar resounded all over the universe as the denizens of heaven exclaimed, "Oh, why has Sati, the wife of the most respectable demigod, quit her body in anger? How could Daksha have been so cruel to his own daughter, who was such a chastity and exalted girl? Obviously, he is so hard-hearted that he is unworthy of being called a Brahmana. Daksha will surely become infamous for having offended the Supreme Lord and for failing to prevent the death of his own daughter." While the members of the assembly spoke amongst themselves in the same way, The followers of Lord Shiva prepared to kill Daksha with their weapons. To atone for having failed to protect their mistress, they were ready to give up their own lives after first killing the offender. As the ghost and yakshas rushed at Daksha, however, Bhrigu quickly offered oblations into the southern side of the sacrificial fire while uttering mantras from the Yajurveda meant for counteracting those who disrupt sacrificial performances. Instantly, thousands of demigods named Rubus appeared from the fire, and due to being invested with Soma's energy, they were extremely powerful. Thus, by dint of the superior Brahma Tejas, when the Rubus attacked Lord Shiva's followers with half-burnt wood from the sacrificial fire, they panicked and began fleeing in all directions. When Lord Shiva heard from Narada about Sati's suicide and the defeat of his followers at the hands of the Rubu demigods, he became furious. Lord Shiva had not rejected the possibility that Sati might resolve the family dispute, but now, with this ugly turn of events, he decided to kill Daksha in retaliation, and for this purpose, he snatched a hair from his head while biting his lip with rage. Laughing like a madman, Lord Shiva dashed that blazing hair onto the ground, and as a result, a fearful black demon named Virabhadra was created. As tall as the sky and bright as 3 suns, the demon had thousands of arms, sharp teeth, and blazing hair. Adorned with a garland of human heads, he stood before Lord Shiva with folded hands and inquired, "What shall I do, my lord?" Lord Shiva ordered Virabhadra, who was the personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus fully confident of his prowess, go and kill Daksha and destroy his sacrifice. After circumambulating Lord Shiva, Virabhadra departed along with many of Lord Shiva's followers, all of whom created a tumultuous uproar. As Virabhadra ran with his uplifted trident, his bangles appeared to roar, and he looked fearful enough to kill even death itself. Meanwhile, the assembly at Daksha's sacrificial arena began to perceive an encroaching darkness, and while speculating about it, they came to understand that it was being caused by a dust storm. With great anxiety, they said to one another, "There is no wind, no herd of cows, nor is it possible that this dust storm could be caused by a mob of plunderers, for the powerful King Bharhi is still ruling the earth. Is the dissolution of the world now at hand?" The woman, headed by Prasuti, replied, "This dangerous condition is the result of Daksha's insulting behavior, which caused the innocent Sati to give up her body as we all looked on. At the time of dissolution, Lord Shiva laughs and dances proudly, and with his trident he pierces the rulers of the various planets." While such talk was going on, Daksha began to see fearful omens in the sky and upon the land. Thereafter, Lord Shiva's followers surrounded the sacrificial arena and began to create disturbances. They were all of short stature and having black and yellowish complexions, and they menacingly wielded their various weapons. Some pulled down the pillars that supported the pandal, some entered the ladies' quarters, and others began to destroy the sacrificial arena, while still others engaged in breaking the sacrificial paraphernalia and extinguishing the sacrificial fire. Others passed urine on the sacrificial arena. Some of Lord Shiva's followers blocked the way of the fleeing sages, and others arrested the demigods who tried to escape. Maniman captured the chief priest Bhrigu, and Virabhadra arrested Daksha. Chandesha caught hold of Pusha, and Nandishvara arrested Bhaga. To take revenge for his previous insulting behavior, Virabhadra violently tore off Bhragu's mustache. Next, he caught hold of Bhaga, who had moved his eyebrows during the cursing of Lord Shiva, and after angrily throwing him upon the ground, put out his eyes. Virabhadra then knocked out Daksha's and Pusha's teeth, since both of them had shown them as an insult to Lord Shiva. Finally, Virabhadra sat down on Daksha's chest and tried to cut off his head with various weapons. When all of his attempts proved futile, Virabhadra next tried to cut off Daksha's head with the use of mantras, but still he could hardly even scratch the skin. Virabhadra then saw the wooden device that had been used for killing the sacrificial animals, and by using it, he was finally able to cut off Daksha's head. Upon witnessing this, Lord Shiva's ghostly followers cheered with joy while the Brahmanas began to wail with grief. Virabhadra then picked up Daksha's head and threw it as an offering into the southern side of the sacrificial fire. In this way, Lord Shiva's followers destroyed Daksha's sacrifice, and finally, after setting fire to the whole arena, departed for Kailasha. Having been defeated and injured by Lord Shiva's soldiers, the Brahmanas and demigods went to take shelter of Lord Brahma. After offering their obeisances to the grandsire, they anxiously explained all that had taken place. Actually, Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma had foreseen what would happen, and for that reason, they had not attended the sacrifice of Daksha. After hearing from the demigods, Lord Brahma replied, "You cannot become happy by performing a sacrifice and at the same time blaspheming a great personality. By excluding Lord Shiva from his share of the sacrificial offerings, you have all become offenders at his lotus feet. Therefore, you must go and surrender unto him by falling down at his lotus feet without any mental reservations, and in this way he may become pleased. Lord Shiva is so powerful that he can immediately destroy all the planets along with their presiding deities. Because he has become very aggrieved due to the loss of his wife as well as Daksha's cruel words, it behooves you to go and beg for his forgiveness." Thank you for listening. The next will be continued in part 3 of the chapter. Thank you. Take care.